I'm Zach.
And I'm Darcy. Did you know that pornography doesn't have to destroy you or your marriage? We're the parents of 8 active members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we love to help people just like you.
We're here to share hope and healing as we take you through our journey and the journeys of our amazing clients to greater joy and love. Come grow with us to a happier, more meaningful life. Welcome to the Self-Mastery Podcast. Hey everybody, and welcome to another beautiful Mastery Monday here on the Self-Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Spafford. All right, so we gave you a little bit of a week off last week. It was simple. It was a very important principle that you're going to need to know, but now we're going to dive a little bit deeper. Man, not too deep. Don't worry. Don't turn it off, please. All right. So if you're like me in your quest to eliminate pornography, you probably have tried to eliminate everything. And you're like, wait a minute. What do you mean eliminate everything? I mean, like, you tried to eliminate all the things that were important. You know, you might have gotten rid of your phone or blocked all the apps on your phone or blocked certain apps or given over your access code to your, someone else. Maybe tried avoiding certain shops at the mall. I'm talking to you, Victoria's Secret. Or maybe you haven't gone to the beach. We talked to Eric and Jackie a couple, I guess it's been quite some time ago, but we re-aired that recently. And that was one of the big things for them, right? And we've talked about going to the beach. There are episodes on that. Those are the physical things that you've tried to avoid. And then maybe mentally and emotionally, you have tried to eliminate urges. Maybe you've been running from your emotions. Maybe you've been suppressing your sex drive and really just generally working to stop feeling, stop sensing, stop thinking about anything that has to do with pornography or sexuality. In all of this and all the avoiding that you've done, I just want you to think for a moment and ask yourself, has it really helped? What I mean is, has it helped you become the person you want to be? Has it helped you grow and love and triumph in your life? If you're anything like me or most of my clients, the answer is very likely no. And I'll admit that each of those techniques may have helped you succeed at maybe distancing yourself from your last pornography session. They may have been helpful in slowing down the number of times each week or each month or each year that you turn to pornography. But there is a good chance that if you've been suppressing your life to avoid pornography, you've been suppressing your happiness and your growth on the way. In acceptance and commitment coaching, there's a technique called experiential avoidance, which is about utilizing certain methods, processes, or techniques to avoid the real and sometimes unpleasant experiences or emotions of our lives. The problem with experiential avoidance is that when we avoid the bad, we're also avoiding the amazing and wonderful and deeply joyful experiences of our lives. Here's what I mean. If I suppress my emotions so that I don't feel sexual in order to avoid pornography, and the way that it draws me in, I'm also suppressing my wholly appropriate and deep desires to be intimate with my wife or with my significant other. And as a result, there's a good chance that something will eventually break. You're like, wait a minute, break how? Okay, well, this is, it may be that my suppression will work for a time. You've probably had this where you've like, okay, I'm gonna lock this down. But willpower always runs out. And then what happens? And we talked about willpower. Willpower is never enough. We've talked about this before. What happens after the willpower runs out? What has happened to you when you've pushed down the feelings and the temptations for a long time? An analogy that I like to use is that of a beach ball at the pool. If you've ever, tried to push a beach ball under the water, you found that you can control it as long as you concentrate on it, as long as you manage it actively. But eventually your mind is pretty certain mind's going to wander. You're going to become distracted. You might have to deal with something, and boom, out of the water blasts the beach ball. Our emotions and feelings and urges are a lot like that. In trying to avoid them, we push them under until there is a moment when we no longer have the capacity to control them. That's what experiential avoidance looks like. We avoid certain experiences for as long as we can, and then they overtake us and overwhelm us, and we lose control. So, in addition to losing control, we've also lost out on so many beautiful, amazing experiences that can enrich our lives and help us feel the fulfillment that we've really been seeking, right? So, what happens is when we avoid our sensations and our emotions, we also avoid feeling joy. So, imagine being at the pool and spending your entire time focused on pushing that beach ball under the water and keeping it there. When others offer to play a game, you'll be busy. When someone wants to engage in meaningful conversation, you'll be distracted. When your family wants to grab a quick picture with you, you'll be somewhere else. As I wrote this, it occurred to me that there were moments when I would take my eye off the ball, like Christmas or birthdays or vacations, and I found that I gave in to my urge to engage with pornography, and that I would become engaged in the everyday life events that everyone engages with. And then I would make mistakes in my, in that quest that I had always in the background to eliminate pornography. So then I would double down and I would push the ball deeper. But to my dismay, I would only find that the next time I became engaged in real life, I would make another mistake. Darcy actually used to say that I would ruin every big event in our family for her. Our beautiful memories would always be tainted by knowing that Zach, me, had made a part of it somehow. Pornography was in there, right? And if this describes your life, I'm glad to know that you've been where I was, and I hope that you're glad to know that there is a way forward. Avoiding the experiences of your life, the ones that happen internally, like emotions and urges and sensations, is not the way to finally get rid of them. It's actually the opposite. What we work to suppress, our brain latches onto. Famously, there have been many experiments where participants have been told not to think about things like pink elephants. You might have heard of this. No matter how hard they try, participants find themselves unable to keep the idea out of their head. Telling ourselves that we must never think of pornography or sexuality or the urges that drive our very natural and normal sex drives results in the same thing. Eventually they come up and we find they consume us. So, how do we succeed at handling our urges, thoughts, and sensations? So there's 3 things you can do. And we actually go into depth in this in the membership and in the individual coaching sessions. And, here on the podcast, we do a lot of, here's the information. And in those spaces, in the membership and in individual coaching, we go into the real work. We go into how it actually is going to happen in your life. And in that process, we don't just kind of talk about this is a scenario that might occur. We talk about this is what's actually happening and how to apply this. So here's the first thing you want to do to apply this. The first thing you want to do is get good at seeing what's coming. You have to get good at and practice, even when pornography is not the issue. You have to recognize your feelings, you have to recognize the sensations, and recognize the urges. So I like to practice this on food. Food is ever present, and it's always something that people are battling with. It's a great thing to practice on because pornography might not be the thing that's happening every day. So you may want to find something that is happening every day. But what you're really doing here is you're becoming clear with what your brain is sending you, and that is going to help you know what to do with it. So I've often said that men and women too have not been given a lot of emotional training in life. Most of us have been instructed to suppress anything that we can't control. And in Western culture, we really repress our feelings so that we don't let them show. We try not to feel them. We try to tamp them down whenever they arrive. I've often said that men are allowed to have 3 feelings: hungry, horny, and angry. And maybe that's not true, but it kind of feels like it sometimes, especially when we look at popular culture. So getting good at recognizing the depth and the breadth of your emotions, your urges, and sensations will be essential to actually resolving them in helpful and meaningful ways. Second, you really need to become comfortable with these sensations being there. That, by the way, that's not the same as giving into them. Most of us have 2 ways of dealing with urges. We either push against them and try to suppress them in some way, or we actually just give in to them and we allow them to take us wherever they want us to go. But there's actually a third thing that we can do, and that is simply to observe them. We have to become an active observer, and that's a skill that everyone who wants to eliminate pornography from their lives must acquire. So this is a lot like being a nature film documentarian. You got to be willing to objectively and thoughtfully see what's happening without getting entangled in the drama. And our brains are really they're super full of drama. That's actually a skill that every mind has. It's to tell a compelling story that is designed to drive us to action. So rather than act on whatever narrative that our brain is trying to get us to act on, we actually have to be willing to feel the anxiety of the moment without acting, without doing anything else. And that might seem counterintuitive at first, but if you've ever read a story of deep emotion without becoming a sea captain or a fighter pilot or a wolf dog in the great wilderness of Alaska, then you are actually already capable of this skill. See the story, feel the feelings, but then also withhold action. And someone out there is probably saying, well, that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to not act, and that isn't working. So how is this any different? It's different because avoiding your emotions is not the same as feeling them and doing nothing. It's different because avoiding your urges is not the same as acknowledging them as though they are normal and then not making any choices about those urges. It's different because suppressing your desires is not the same as being willing to allow them the room to run out without them overtaking you. This requires a maturity of thought that really wasn't available to me at first. I imagine it's probably not available to you right now yet. And I used to think that, even if I had a desire or a thought or an urge, that I was just bad already. I was bad because I had that thought. But as you may know, the urge, the thought, or the desire is not what makes us bad. Those are what makes us human. Being willing and able to see them, acknowledge them, and then sit through them rather than avoid them is a skill that will pay dividends, not just in eliminating pornography, but in every part of our lives. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you have gotten something out of this that you can do, but you can totally practice these skills every single day. You don't need me. I'm happy to help if you want, but you really don't need me. You can start by just observing, what's my brain doing? What's it offering? And then we'll go from there. And I hope you can now see that you don't have to give up everything. In fact, the opposite is the truth here. You have to lean in to your feelings. You have to lean in to the emotions. You have to lean into the urges in a way that's not about just giving into them, but that is acknowledging their presence, being willing and able to live through them and feel why it is that they're there, understanding why it is that they're there, and then dealing with them up front instead of running away, instead of suppressing them, instead of trying to eliminate as much as you possibly can from your life. Because when you try to eliminate everything from your life, guess what you also eliminate from your life? Joy. One of my favorite scriptures, 2 Nephi 2:25, Adam fell that men might be, and men are that they might have joy. This is a really, when people say, what's the purpose of life? That's the scripture I point to. What is our purpose here on earth? It's to have joy, which is really interesting. I think sometimes we think, it's to have a body or this or that. I think it's to have joy. I think that's the scripturally correct answer. I think having a body is part of having joy. I think being tested is part of having joy. But I think we really forget. I think we all the time forget that 13 verses prior to that verse, Lehi is saying to his firstborn in the wilderness, I think it's Jacob, hey man, don't forget, if you're going to have joy, you've got to be able to deal with misery effectively. And sometimes the feelings and the thoughts and the urges that we have, those are the misery that we are dealing with. And if we're unwilling to deal with those effectively, we're never going to have the joy that we've been promised. So, that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. I hope this is helpful. I love you guys. Shout me out. Let me know what you need. I want to hear. I want to help you. All right, you guys. Talk to you next week. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Self Mastery Podcast. Every day, Darcy and I work with amazing men and women to remove pornography from their lives and relationships. If you're ready to take the next step in your journey, let us help you. Sign up for a consult at zachspafford.com/workwithme, and you can set up some time for you or your spouse to meet with me or with Darcy, and we can help you get started on your self-mastery journey. Thanks for listening to Thrive Beyond Pornography. If you're seeking guidance and support to overcome pornography for good and begin creating a thriving life beyond it, check out my free webinar, How to Overcome Pornography with Skills That Actually Work. You'll learn practical, proven skills guided by an expert coach who has personally overcome pornography. Whether you're getting started for just yourself or along with your spouse, Darcy and I can teach you the tools that will help you put your life on the right path for you. Be sure to check out the show notes for a direct link, and if you could take a moment to leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts, it would mean the world to us. Your reviews play a significant role in helping others discover the show so they can join us on this transformative journey. Thank you for being part of the Thrive Beyond Pornography community. Until our next episode, stay strong, stay focused, and keep thriving.